Hello, and welcome to this special Christmas episode of Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 18 of Chobits. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. Alright. Last we left off, there were a whole bunch of interactions with the landlord, and it seemed like she was a fair bit more familiar with Chi than she initially let on, and beyond that, she has this sort of secret basement with all sorts of highly advanced computer equipment. There were a couple people in trench coats and sunglasses who were saying stuff like, oh, she's nearby, whatever that means. Presumably it's about Chi. So there's all sorts of intrigue and stuff going on, and neither Hideki nor Chi are any wiser to the situation. I mean, as far as either of them know, this is just like an ordinary day where Chi's having a good day at work, where, if her boss is to be believed, she baked a cake entirely on her own, which, that's remarkable. We don't know how much time has passed since episode 16, but when she tried cooking in that episode, it was borderline catastrophic, and, based on Hideki's reaction, her cake isn't, abominable. Quite the opposite, in fact, so, she seems to be learning at an exponential rate. Which, it's rather remarkable. Now, all that said, the title of this episode is Chi Disappears, which I find very, off-putting, or, I find it cause for concern, because surely she wouldn't disappear voluntarily, right, regardless of what that little book says. I feel like those two ne'er-do-wells from the end of the previous episode are probably going to have a hand in this. And, oh dear indeed. So, back with Yumi, the topic of persicams, it's kind of a touchy subject with her, it seems. So I guess there's this sort of ongoing issue of boy, persicams are better than people at some things. Ooh, yeah, she does make up a good point in that persicams are sort of fundamentally not human, and therefore a lot of interaction is cheapened, but at the same time, you can sort of avoid this problem by fostering meaningful connections with people. I guess not to trivialize her concern or anything, that's not nothing, you do have to work for it, but I feel I have to say it can be done, to admit that it can't be, like, at that point, like, why bother living, And I guess Hideki has proof to the contrary in that he seems to have a meaningful relationship with Chi by all available evidence, although she isn't your average persicom by any means. Oh, the poor guy. I'm wondering why this is suddenly an issue when she has seemingly been sleeping next to him for quite a while. Okay. Well, I guess it is sort of a routine occurrence that he's still not quite used to. Man, I feel like, despite how nice and novel the situation is, I feel like, you would still get kind of used to it, Like, you can't help but do that. Human beings are very good at adapting to their circumstances, good or bad, Ooh. So this is not good. Hideki's gotta go to the library after work, meaning she's gonna have to walk home by herself. I'm thinking this is the perfect opportunity for those nasty people to intervene, and not in a good way. And unfortunately, Chi doesn't quite understand what's going on here. Like, this isn't anything that's her fault or anything like that. So, she doesn't have to feel sad about it, which it's kind of unfortunate that this is something you have to sort of painstakingly explain to her. It is nice that, as always, her heart is in the right place. Man, so I feel like there's all sorts of foreshadowing here. I think those agents are gonna do something, and I feel like they might use something deceptive and underhanded, like, oh, Hideki's sick, we'll take you to him. Something like that, preying on her good nature, essentially. Because, like, at this point, I don't see why Chi would just sort of up and disappear without the intervention of some malign forces. Although, seeing as how she seems to be sad in her solitude a little bit, like, maybe the disappearance is like she gets lost. Ah, boy. So, Hideki, he's having a real one, Because, like, he's gotten all sorts of advice, frequently unsolicited advice, like, hey, don't fall in love with persicoms, and like, hey, like, persicoms sort of make people obsolete and things like that. I feel like Hideki is kind of susceptible to this stuff because, like, even his own teacher was effectively replaced by a persicom, almost in comical fashion. Like, imagine that, like, you get locked out by your husband, he doesn't even remember you're coming home from work because he has a persicom. Like, that's so unfortunate that it's almost a little funny, even though it really shouldn't be. But unfortunately, Hideki's just gonna have to grapple with this all on his own, Because, like, when you get down to it, like most persicoms, you install software and things like that. She's not like that. She's far more human than any other persicom because you sort of have to, like, teach her and let her learn and allow her to grow and things like that. So, whatever turmoil Hideki's feeling about, like, persicoms and them not really being people, I feel like the best thing to do is probably just, like, step back and realize that this isn't his situation. Wow, I'm wondering if maybe the frilly dress is not necessarily the appropriate outfit to be wearing out in public, just because she stands out so far from everyone else. And, an unaccompanied persicom, like, I don't know how unusual that is, but seeing as how this guy's sort of like, yeah, there we go, sneaking up on her and then grabbing her, like, oh boy. This is decidedly not good. So the question is, what is Hideki gonna do about it? Because, like, he's coming home after a long day of school, work, and studying. He's certainly not in the mood for this, but, like, I don't know, do you seek out the police? Because I feel like a missing persons report wouldn't cover a persicom, regardless of how human they act or appear. Although I guess, Hideki has a benefit in the form of his landlord and that persicom expert. Between the two of them, they might be able to, like, put their noggins together and help Hideki find her. Oh boy. Okay, so that's interesting that they have, like, call forwarding for Sumomo and all that. Okay. Ooh. So this is how he learns. So she didn't really show up to work, so now, ooh, buddy. Yeah, this is, not good. Like, if she's been missing for, some decent period of time, hours, like, that's not good, Like, it would have been bad enough if it was only an hour, but I don't know. As I understand it, if you want to find kidnapped people, like, generally, like, it's better for as little time to have elapsed as possible. Man, it really is unfortunate that he doesn't know about the manager's secret computer dungeon. Because I feel like with all the computing power she has down there, she probably could find Chi by rigging up, like, I don't know, some sort of, like, satellite algorithm to ping Chi's distinctive operating system. Some, like, technobabble something or other. Unfortunately, Hideki's taking, a rather unfocused approach of just sort of looking around. I mean, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to put myself in his position. Like, if I were under the impression that she was just lost, I suppose I would look at a few areas where she was likely to be. But I don't know. I feel like I would also have the presence of mind to think, like, maybe there's someone who can help me out here. Now, yeah, it's one of those books, again. So I'm wondering... Wait a minute. Okay, so this is a hint, I guess. She got grabbed while reading the book. Oh, surely. Okay, so he picked up the little hair piece or whatever. I was gonna say, surely he's not insinuating that she stole the book. I mean, I guess technically she did, but only because she was also kidnapped. Now, I guess the question is, would the book have any sort of a hint as to what's going on here? Because, like, the book seems to be... I don't want to call it clairvoyant, but, like, it seems to be predicting things, unsettlingly so. So I'm wondering if maybe Hideki just, like, skimmed through it, he might notice some similarities to his present situation. Now, it's interesting that whoever kidnapped Chi just seemingly decided to take her to, what appears to be like another apartment or something. Or, just like their living quarters rather than something more secluded. So we have another little Persicom just giving information here like, hey, you've been abducted. I find it interesting because, like, this little Persicom is seemingly an agent of Chi's captors, but it's just like saying, hey, you know, you've been kidnapped, it's not a good thing. Now, I guess it's kind of interesting that Chi remembers being thrown away like that. That's kind of interesting. So I guess this guy here is the captor. He's surprisingly affable for a kidnapper. So I'm wondering what the angle is here. Like, does he recognize that Chi is perhaps, you know, not an ordinary Persicom? Wow, you know, Kotoko is rather feisty, you know. And, like, this Yoshiyuki guy is saying, like, oh, you don't really understand anything, do you? It's like, mighty presumptuous of you. I think it's fair to call a Persicom a thing. So is this guy, like, someone who knew about the rumors of Chobits? Okay, yeah, like he's saying, I'm gonna start analyzing you, like... Whoa, buddy, that's a loaded statement. So I guess he is of the belief that she is a Chobit, which is, you know, that's some nice confirmation, I suppose, but, like... Man, it is unfortunate that she is so forthcoming with all this information. Yeah, and he's just sort of talking down to Chi as if she isn't an equal, which, you know, she very well might not be, because, you know, Persicom, not person, but, like... Imagine telling one, like, you have such a stupid name to their face. Like... I feel like that was probably the big mistake this guy made. Like, you know, Chi might be docile and cooperative, but I feel like if anything is gonna convince her to not go along with any of this stuff, it's probably that. But I guess the question is, what form will this analysis take? You know, is it just gonna be like analyzing code and like part specifications? I feel like it's going to be a bit more in-depth than that. I guess, you know, now that I've, like, stopped to really think about it, it's interesting that I was seemingly, like, another Persicom fanatic who has abducted Chi rather than those two mysterious people. Because I would have assumed it would have been them. You know, there's still a possibility this guy is working on their behalf. Okay, so now the landlord is saying, like, ooh, sorry, Chi, I know you've been kidnapped, but I promise to remain neutral and not help you out, like... Okay, so everybody's getting involved now. So, the landlord said she promised him, indicating, I would assume, her late husband. Those two guys from before are saying, like, wow, this is unexpected, like... Huh. So back with the Persicom expert, he still can't backtrace that mysterious image, which... Like, I don't know. I'm wondering if maybe the landlord was the initial sender. Ooh, so I'm wondering, is he gonna break his little rule about falling in love with Persicoms? It seems like to a degree he did, seeing as how he modeled it after his late sister, but there's also this issue where he's giving the Persicom a task that it can't complete, and like, I'd imagine it's rather unfortunate for a machine with some degree of awareness that you can't do what you're made to do, you know? I guess she also has this sort of a complex where she wants to better emulate the guy's dead sister, but like, man, I feel like nothing good's gonna come out of that. I don't know if I brought it up before, but like, I really, really don't think machines should emulate the dead. Like, I don't know. I'm on the fence about machines emulating people. Like, full stop, even if they are unique. Like, it's one thing if the human form is, like, optimal for robots to move around and do things, but, like, to make a robot to take the place of a dead person, like, that's... I don't know how to describe it other than it feels deeply wrong. Like, I don't know. I feel like you should let the dead stay dead and, like, you know, revere them, remember them and all that, but, like, to replace them with a facsimile is deeply distasteful. And I guess that's something, you know, the Persicom smiles regardless of the circumstances because she knows she'll be helpful. Which, I guess that's a nice sentiment, but like, when the circumstances are Chi has been abducted and we don't know by who or where she is, like, you know, maybe you ought to be a bit more circumspect about things. Now I'm wondering, is Hideki having a bit of a realization here? You know, he's thinking about Persicoms and how they relate to people. Okay, you know what? Unequivocally the right answer. Like, none of that stuff matters about whether or not people can connect with people. Chi is in danger, she needs help first and foremost. This other philosophical stuff can wait until later. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. Merry Christmas, Space Cowboy.